All right, good afternoon. Welcome back to the show. The Gong Show, that is. This one has been a struggle. I don't even know where to start, really, other than thanking my sponsors. I picked up a new one this last couple weeks. First one's, of course, my wallet with the cards that are in it and opening itself up to me and letting me do this, whatever I need to do to keep these things on the road and enjoying the heck out of them. And then the other is the new one, my patience. It reared its head and offered some support because if this vehicle was anything other than an LJ Rubicon 6-speed, it probably would be scrap metal by now, but I'll use a softer voice. It has really put me through the paces. Lots done and lots to go through. So, but I also discovered I'm an influencer. Who'd have known? Not only have I influenced my kids to become contributing members of society with a stick, a carrot, and a 12-foot chew, but I also influenced this thing to pass emissions. Yes, you heard it here first. Last weekend-ish, I managed to get the check engines to clear long enough for it to head over to the inspection and pass with flying colors. All 4 monitors passed. I didn't have any showing, which is good. And in the state of Texas, you're allowed to have 1, but I got all 4. So that's the evap, catalyst, O2 monitor, and the O2 heater. So let's bring you up to speed on everything that I did, because I didn't videotape a lot of it. I'm going to cut into some of it as I kind of talk through this, but there's just a lot to go over. So if you're chasing the 0133 code and the 153 code, or a combination thereof, I'm hoping this will help you, because I definitely learned a lot. All right, let's walk through this. So I didn't record a lot of the work that we did. And I say we because Tanya was out here helping me quite a bit. And the simple reason was you've seen me do it on a few of the other videos. Other work that we did that I did videotape, I'm going to cut it into this video and you'll kind of see what we did. The first one was fuel pressure. That was what I really wanted to test. Those of you that have these Jeeps know that the fuel pump, while they last a long time, they do start to go bad. 2 telltales is long cranking times. Or, you have to crank it more than once to get that fuel pump to prime. I did a whole segment on that on the blue Jeep in some of the earlier videos that we did, fuel pressure and such thing videos. I did those, and we actually did the swap of the fuel pump. Tanya and I actually did the fuel pump in this rig. I didn't videotape any of it because, like I said, we've already kind of went down that road and I showed you. The big difference between the earlier TJs, like the 98s to 03s, 04s, is the fuel pressure is only needs to be about 45 pounds. I think it's like 48 plus or minus 5 PSI is what the field service manual says. This one was running at 45 pounds. So I thought, that's great. Unfortunately, for the 05 and 06 model years, the fuel pressure bumps up to 58 PSI. So I found that out when I was digging into it, looking at the fields. If you don't have the service manuals, they are available online. I'll see if I can find it, and I'll put a link in the description. I had a whole page that had all of the PDFs for all the model years. And it really comes in handy when you're trying to track this stuff down. Because if you put fuel pressure required in Google, you'll get kind of mixed results because the model years varied. But the 2005, 2006 model years are 58 PSI plus or minus 2 PSI. That's not a big window. The other big thing, I mentioned it on the last video, is they actually deleted the Schrader valve on the 04s, 05s, 06s. And you can see I have one there. What I ended up doing is I took the fuel rail off my 98, my black one, and I swapped the fuel rails. So I put the one off of this Jeep onto that one. They are different part numbers when you search them. And they are universal. They will fit. It's just because it's missing the Schrader valve. So it gave it a different part number. But the dimensions between the injectors and everything are all the same. So I did that swap. While I was at it, I actually put all new injectors. I put 6 brand new injectors. They are relatively inexpensive. I think for all 6, it was like, I don't know, $70 or $80. I didn't buy the super expensive ones because they'll just work for what I was trying to do. Maybe a year or 2 down the road, maybe I'll change them out again and put in some better ones. But for right now, it got us what we needed. By putting the Schrader valve on there, now I was able to get the fuel pressure pretty easy. You can do a T in here and cut one in and do it, but for me, this was just easier. I'm going to order another fuel rail that has a Schrader valve already in it, or I might find a used one from a Facebook Marketplace or something from an older Jeep to put on mine, back on mine. And then that's done. So long story short, we had 45 pounds of fuel pressure, which was, 12 pounds, 13 pounds too little. So Tanya and I think it took us about 45 minutes, all said and done, to drop that tank, put a new one in. This thing is completely rust free. All the bolts just zip out, zip back in. So that was kind of an easy fix to do. I did go with the Bosch fuel pump. I would recommend that brand. If you're going to do any fuel pumps in any of the Jeeps, the cheaper ones that are readily available on Amazon and stuff like that, they're not reliable. You're going to do it again. It could last 6 months. It could last 6 years. It could last 6 days. It's a crapshoot. I've had really good luck with the Bosches, and in searching online, I know a lot of people have as well. They're a lot more expensive, but I know I won't have to worry about it for a while. So those were the 2 big things that we did. We did the injectors and the fuel pump. I did put this heat shield around the fuel rail. There was a lot of heat in this engine compartment because it had some exhaust leaks. So actually this got so hot, we were boiling gas really before it even got into the intake. So I just wrapped it up just for a peace of mind. Here in South Texas, it's probably a good idea anyways. There is some insulation here over the exhaust manifold, but it just gives that extra little bit. This stuff was pretty cheap. It was like $25 for 5 feet of it or something like that, or 6 feet. And I wrapped it all the way down to underneath the Jeep, all by the exhaust there. So those were the big things that we did. The other one, I added the fan shroud, obviously to contain the heat. Somebody made a comment on one of the earlier videos. Was heat an issue? Yes, it definitely was. Without that fan shroud, that heat just it doesn't focus that air. So to get that in, what we ended up doing was draining the rad and pulling the rad out and then putting it on. Trying to get that crank off, or the fan off, you actually have to spin it off with that bolt. And that means I got to put a chain around, all. I was going to flush the rad anyway, so it just made sense. Drained the rad, popped the 2 hoses off, 4 bolts, out it popped. And then we got the new fan shroud on, so that's all done. I did put a new upper rad hose on it. The other one was pretty beat up. So I got that all on. That doesn't leak anymore. So that was all of that. Now, the vacuum leaks. That was the other big thing that we were facing. I did another little segment. I'll kind of cut it in here now, and I'll show you kind of the smog test, or the fog test. First of all, what I want to do now is run a smog test, or a fogger. I bought one of these little smoke detectors from Amazon. This one was really inexpensive. It is the Solari. I'll put a link in it in the description below. But it has the pump and everything all built into one. And then you buy a little tube of, I don't know, the fog stuff. I think it's just like baby oil or something like that. And I want to show you, because I really struggled with this in a sense that I squirted flammable brake clean all over the intake and could not find anything that would resemble a vacuum leak. And once this fog gets going, you'll see it. You can already see it. It's pouring out of the throttle body. It's coming from all around it. It looks like it's squirting from underneath, just based on, see if I can get my finger in there, the smoke coming out down here and over there. So I don't know if this has been off, but that right there is a telltale of the P0133. A vacuum leak, especially of that size, will throw that code every time. and you'll be chasing everything else, you know, new cats, new exhaust, new this, new that. But that is a telltale sign right there. So I'm going to go ahead and pop off that throttle body and probably order a new gasket. And that should be it. Okay, I'll bring you up to speed on all that other stuff. So what that test told me is, obviously you saw it, there was a bunch of smoke pouring out from the gasket underneath the intake, the throttle body. So I took all that off. I cleaned out the throttle body. There's bearings in here for the throttle where it spins on. So I greased all those up, put it all back together, put a new gasket in there, and then I found another leak on this boot from the breather out of the valve cover. This boot was actually cracked way down here, and it was only a tiny, small little bit of smoke coming out of there. But the slightest leak on the intake will trip that P0133 code, because it can't, like I said, it can't click fast enough. So I cobbled together some parts and pieces and got all that fixed. And then the other big one, well, I did this line too. This one had a crack in it. And this line down here, I don't know if you can see it, it's pretty dark. Those lines down there, I replaced both of those. I put a new boot on this as well. You can see with the hose clamp. Got that all on. So no air leaks, no vacuum leaks whatsoever. And then the other big thing I did is on the exhaust from the manifold to the precats. I could not get that exhaust to seat. It was constantly leaking. So what I did is I took it apart and gooped a bunch of high temperature gasket maker around the joint, and then put it together and put the medium-sized impact on it on World Twister mode and rammed those stove bolts in there. The only way you're going to get it apart now is with a cutting torch and plasma cutter, and that's the only way that's going to come apart. So I'm not worried about it right now. It is still leaking a little bit. After I got the emissions certificate and everything like that, and everything was good, Tanya and I took it down to Galveston for the weekend, and it tripped a code on the way back, and it's the same thing, slow response. So there's definitely still something leaking, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. It's not the end of the world. It's just switching between lean and rich. It may burn a little bit more fuel, but it's not going to really hurt anything. And then the other thing I did was switch the spark plugs. I want to show you this. This to me is just crazy. This was a spark plug that was in there. I'm hoping it's focusing. There's no there's no probe left. It's completely gone. It's just here. Let me see if I can get that better. There you go. That's probably better. So you can see there's no probe left at all. It's completely disintegrated, and this goes back to just lack of maintenance. What I discovered on this Jeep is there was really no maintenance done on it whatsoever. The oil that I pulled out of here was it was nasty. I don't know how long between oil changes it had been, but it was way more than the 3,000 miles-ish that I do. And then these spark plugs, these are Champions. So the good news is they're not the original spark plugs, because they would have been the NGKs, but they're definitely old, and they're spent, like beyond spent. So between the spark plugs, the fuel pump, all the vacuum leaks, the exhaust leaks, it was just a methodical battle. But once I got through it, we were able to get that emissions tested, and everything's good. So, and then one thing that I did, and I'll take you through that now, is do a vacuum test. So between the smoke machine, cramming the vacuum up the tutor and using soapy water, and then the vacuum gauge, I was able to isolate all three things and fix all the little issues. If you go online and research this, you're gonna see a lot of different, spitballs of what could be wrong, all the way up to the precats are plugged. How do you know? Well, a lot of people were saying, oh, take them apart, and look down in them. There's a much easier way to check that. So let's do a vacuum test, and then I'll kind of show you the telltales for that. Okay, So little vacuum gauge. I just disconnected the brake, the brake booster, the vacuum hose, which is actually a fuel line that goes into the intake. And then the way that these gauges work is 0, and then it goes in inches of mercury, which is how we measure vacuum, which is relative to atmospheric. So as this goes negative, you can see the green line there. This is for the majority of most vehicles. The Jeeps in particular, these ones should run between 19 and 20 inches of mercury. That's where they'll go. So I'm gonna set this in the Jeep here. We'll go inside, we'll fire the Jeep up, and I'll show you what I mean. Oh yeah, you can kind of see it there. I just have it sitting on the windshield just to do this test. So we'll start the Jeep. So you can see right away, it jumped down to, it looks to be around minus 18, 19, which is where we want to be. Now the other test, so this is at idle. One of the other big telltales, you can tell if your cat's plugged or your pre-cats are choking off, is if you press the accelerator up to 2000 RPM and your vacuum goes down, that means you're starting to plug off your cats. You'll also notice a decrease in throttle response. Like on the highway, you might not be able to get up to speed. Going up hills, it might start to, die, those types of things. So what we'll do is in idle, we'll just rev it up to 2000. You can see the vacuum actually increased a couple of inches of mercury there. So that tells us right away that our cats are just fine. So just with these little, $100 worth of parts for the smog machine, the smoker machine, and this, it tells us right away that everything's okay. All right, so that's going to do it for this one. Still lots more to come. Air conditioner, got to take a crack at that. Obviously fix that blending door actuator. I have the parts for that, and I got to look at the lockers for the differentials. I think what I'm going to do is do the switch separation for those, so you can engage the front or the rear independently instead of the single action switch. But I'm still researching that. But that's still all to come, and I'm definitely going to take some video footage of that stuff. I didn't do a lot on this just because it was just me going back and forth and scratching my head and searching on the internet and trying to figure out what was going on there. So I hope you got something out of this video. I definitely learned a lot. If you got any questions on the P0133 and 153 and you're really struggling with it, don't be afraid to shoot me a note. I'll put my email in the link below, or in the description below. I can definitely share my experience, and hopefully it helps you out. But the big thing is your fuel pressure, exhaust leaks, and vacuum leaks, as well as just a basic tune-up, spark plugs, coils, making sure your spark is good, so that you're getting good fuel ignition. All those things contribute to that. It could be one of them. It could be a combination of all of them. So I hope that helps you out. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you on the next one.